also videotape it, which...
Yes.
Yeah.
We sure do. That's why there's a camera right there.
Yep. Gotta reference the camera.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome, Ryan-Alexander Holmes, to the Have a Seat podcast with Anthony Pacheco and Betsy Hayes.
How did
That's
you guys,
what this is.
How did you guys meet?
We met...
Oh, yeah.
You remember?
Yeah.
So I was in the acting studio at Santa Monica.
Okay.
And one of the scenes that the people, two of the dudes in our class got was from Angels in America, which is a very, it's a very important play about AIDS in America, and, it has a lot of themes and stuff. So they were doing a play, or a scene from that. And then one of the other students was like, oh, by the way, USC is doing this play for anybody that's curious or, wants to go see it. And I was like, yeah, I was kind of at the point where I was just trying to soak up as much information of plays and movies and, do my research as an actor. And so I went and saw it, and he was the star, one of the stars.
The
guess
the bright shining
that.
star.
Yeah, no, as soon as he was in the scene, I was completely just stuck. He was brilliant in the character.
Aww.
Yeah.
You played the flamboyant man who gets AIDS and dies. Also dresses as a woman, does a whole thing. It was you sold the fuck out of it. And then what happened after I saw it, we didn't talk that night. I just went back and was like, wow, that was amazing. I was at work at public school, and he walked in and sat at a table, and I was like, why do I know this person? Is he, I was like, he's an actor, but I'm not sure where I know him from, a movie or a show or something. And then it hit me, and I just went over him, and I was like, hey, I saw your play. It was great. Gotta talk to this guy.
I was like, oh, awesome. Thank you.
And you had just graduated at that time, I think?
I had just graduated, yeah. I just graduated, probably the week before, USC.
Oh,
The
okay.
MFA program at USC.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, that play was... Because I had an uncle who passed away from AIDS when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
And so that was... it was very emotional for me because I was diving back into, whatever he may have felt. And he died when I was 6 years old. So I never really got to really understand what happened to him.
How old are you now?
I'm 28.
Okay.
And I did this when I was 27. It was last year.
Okay.
But it was an insane emotional experience because when you're a kid, you don't really think about what these people are going through emotionally and physically, and how that debilitating disease affects your psyche and your physical health and your mental health. And it helped me experience an inkling of what that might have been, which was immensely painful for me, so I can't imagine what it was like for him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did he get it from a blood transfusion?
I don't know how he got it, but I don't think it was a blood transfusion, honestly.
No? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because my grandma's mother, so my great-grandma, died when I was 2 from AIDS, and it was from a blood transfusion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's something that has to do with AIDS pertaining to me, but it was very I just remember growing up I was very close to my grandma.
Yeah.
And she was really close to her mom. She was her everything. And I just always remember on her birthday, and it was always emotional, and growing up basically AIDS was always talked about and stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I learned how it completely decimated gay communities.
Oh yeah.
In major cities.
What is your sexuality?
I'm
Let me just ask real quick.
Sorry.
Wow. I identify as straight.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I was honestly shocked when I started talking to you and you didn't have the flamboyance. I was like, oh, fuck, he's a good actor.
Yeah.
I just thought that was kind of who you were, but you put that on for the character. It was brilliant.
And when it comes to sexuality, after doing that play, and a number of my friends who have come out over the years, I really do think it's a spectrum, and I don't, and that's why I hesitate to really give a concrete answer to that, because I don't really know.
Yeah.
The whole life I've been straight, and I probably will stay straight for the rest of my life. But
Same.
I think categorizing it is
weird.
It is kind of weird.
No, I totally agree.
You know what I mean?
I totally agree.
Yeah, we were talking to somebody else, or maybe it was just us. We kind of dove in. I was like, I don't really think it's a spectrum necessarily, whether it's like you're more straight or you're more gay. It's more just like what gets you off? Is it men, women? Is it feet? Is it not?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it bondage? Is it like there's so many? There's so much stuff that's not even really even related to your genitals that is sexual. Like it's just like such a big spectrum of stuff that gets you off or could get a person off.
As long as it's not kids.
Yeah.
Any
willing participant, whatever that may be, that's why I've always thought like saying like I'm gay is like even a weird label in itself. It's just I prefer men.
Yeah, I agree.
Or I prefer burly men. Like it could be even that specific, you know?
It puts you in a category which like is kind of limiting, I feel like.
Yeah, and then it's like trying to put all of these people who like men, because I would be in that category. So I don't understand why just because you're a guy, I'm a girl, we both like the same type of people in bed. Why are we now separated?
I think it's a sense of community, especially back then when they first were coming out. There's just everyone was against them. You know what I mean? So strength in numbers, I feel like.
How do you study and like get into a character like that?
Geez, where do I start? I mean, I read the script like a million times.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know, there's a click that happens when you're doing your research, and of course, you go down this black hole of going. This happened in 1985 and was written in the 80s by Tony Kushner during the AIDS epidemic. So my research was really like asking my family about my uncle and his life, talking to our director who grew up in New York in the 80s and lost a lot of friends. That's probably the best research tool for me is firsthand experience.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because reading books can get pretty boring. Documentaries are really great, too. Talking to people that have really experienced it. And when it came with the voice and the certain like flamboyancy that I was coming to it with, that was a dangerous territory, I thought, in my mind, because
you don't want to offend anybody.
I don't want to offend anybody. Yeah. But since it's such great writing and the character is such a great character who represents this period of time that is so important in American history, you have such an opportunity but a responsibility to make it not necessarily great, but do it justice.
Do it honestly.
To tell the story.
Yeah.
Obviously, in any play or any material that you do, you should do that. But like great writing, great story, important American history event, you're going to go as hard as you can. And that's what pushed me to get there. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I feel like I've done the acting thing, but then I sort of have moved over to just doing like improv and more just like comedy based stuff. I don't know if I like compute the same way as like an actor where you do that research and you kind of shift your mind to think like somebody else. Like I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah.
I don't know how well I do it. It's interesting now that I'm really meeting people of all these different kind of creative facets, how they're all kind of, they think similarly if they're in the same field. Like all the actors kind of think similarly, comedians, musicians all have their very just adjusted slightly like wavelength that they think on. And I think that acting is maybe just a little bit different than the way that I think.
How different is, because do you do like any TV shows or anything like that?
Well, you just got cast.
I have a guest star actually coming out tomorrow night.
Ooh.
Oh, no shit.
On For the People, Shonda Rhimes' TV show. Her last TV show, because she just went to Netflix, and this is her last TV show on ABC.
Oh, no way. Cool.
Yeah, and I play Simon, this legal aid to the governor.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Damn, I was
no
going to...
spoilers.
Because it's coming out tomorrow. So.
Awesome.
But back to your question, you're talking about thinking the thoughts of like a character. I think this is what I learned early on in drama school was she didn't want... Our teacher, Natsuko Hama, she's amazing. She coaches like Johnny Depp and Ryan Gosling while she's teaching us.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, it's not... Like, she's so humble about it.
That's not a big deal at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But she always makes us say I and never use pronouns like this character is outside of us.
Right.
Because when I was doing Prior, it was me. It was always me. And there is no separation. You know what I mean? How would you act in this situation? This is you. You know, you can put all these things on yourself, you know, but had I gone through those experiences that he went through, I'd be that. But it would be me, you know?
No, and I totally get that thinking, but it kind of, I would have to take myself so far away from what I've worked so hard to get to, which is me. Like, I'm very comfortable, passionate about being myself.
Yeah.
So I always kind of felt like I would have to remove myself from all the things that I know and then move it over into a new life experience and then see the world that way. And that was always very difficult for me because I've already taken so much time to be comfortable in my own skin.
Were you always someone that was very comfortable with yourself? Is that why maybe no?
Absolutely not.
No. Do you think maybe that makes it easier that you're, or are you still like that? Or
no, I see it as once you're comfortable with yourself, and because life, for at least in my perspective, you're always adapting. You're always changing. You know, I am who I am until I'm not. I'm constantly changing and adapting and making new friends and mentors and like new tribes, and they are influencing me and making me a different person, hopefully a better person. So to me, I can like use that in my acting. It's like last year or yesterday, I was a different person. I'm a different person than I was yesterday.
I say that all the time.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Once you learn things, new skills, you change. And to me, as an actor, I feel like if I'm playing Pryor, if I'm playing a murderer or something like that.
When you're saying Pryor, do you mean Richard Pryor?
No, I'm playing Pryor Walter. That's the character.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No worries. No, good question.
I'm like,
good
wait
question.
a minute, you play Richard Pryor. That's
Pryor?
cool.
You play Richard Pryor? That's dope, man. I would love to. But anyway, I think that it's not. I don't see it as such a shift, like playing a character. I think, and it feels like a click. It feels like, oh, okay, now I'm not really acting, and maybe you need to like maybe pushing yourself like far that way, as far as you can. You'll feel it, and it will be like, oh, I'm sitting in this, and it no longer feels foreign to me. It feels like I'm just saying the words as this person now, who is also me. But I think there is that refractory period where it's like, this feels so uncomfortable and not me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A lot of it, that's why I was so frustrated in class where I played a spectrum of things like that. They didn't ever really know. I was never like the same character every scene. But sometimes they would give me these like weak, soft-spoken, shy women. And I totally understand like the importance of showing these people and telling their stories. But for me, it's so difficult to be the exact opposite and be somebody that I'm afraid of being in that way where like I need to be heard. I need to have a stance on stuff and then like to play these women who take the back seat. In a lot of stuff, it's so difficult. So I don't know. I my brain for characters and now for acting, it just with improv for whatever reason, instead of like thinking about a character, thinking about what they were thinking or me if I was in the situation, it's easier if I just get dropped into it and say go.
Just do it. Just do it.
It's like you overthink it so much that you don't even know what you're doing anymore.
And I think when I first, because I didn't have any acting experience going into, you're right? Yeah. I didn't have any acting experiences going into my USC MFA. I had none at all. What
made you want to get into it then?
I kind of always wanted to do it. But my family, anytime I bring it up, they would look at me like I was absolutely insane. You know, like they should put me in an insane asylum, which is fine.
That's
because
not supportive.
It's not. It's supportive in a different way. It's like
they care about
my
you.
dad
We
had
love
worked.
you and want you to.
Yeah, we don't want you to
successful.
suffer like that, son. Brother. We don't want that to happen to you because my dad was a lawyer in the entertainment industry for a little bit. Now he has his own law firm, but he saw what that industry is like, and he's like, I don't know if I want my son to be doing that. You know what I mean?
Did that play any influence on why you wanted to get in there? Do it?
You mean like the kind of the resistance from my family, or
the resistance, and maybe like like that your dad was involved in that entertainment industry, and you kind of got like a little glimpse of what it was like. Or
well, yeah, because when I was a kid, they put me in all the arts. Me and my brother. I did tap dancing. I did acting,
cool.
child acting. I did piano, and I sang. So it's their fault. Okay. I did that for like from age 5 to 10 or 11, and then my brother and I got really good at sports, and that took over. But I don't think that ever left. You know,
that drive and that want for like something like that
to do that, because it felt so good. It felt so good to make other kids laugh, or to garner.
To be in a play and just kill it or something.
Yeah. Well, I was never in a play, but I was in class.
Like in high school or anything? You never?
No, I never. You know, I made fun of those kids because I was a jock.
Oh, really? What'd you play in high school?
I played football, and I ran track, and I was All-American in track.
No way.
And then I got a scholarship to Berkeley to run track there.
Really?
Yeah, and acting was. I got injured at Berkeley, right? I herniated disc in my spine my sophomore year. But I was on the trajectory to. I wanted to go to the Olympics, and I was kind of on that trajectory. My times were, but I injured my back like lifting really heavy weight, and I was
doing CrossFit or something.
No, I was just lifting with the team.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for some reason, we were lifting so heavy, and I never lifted in my life. But like that was the culture.
Usually, people who do track don't lift a lot.
No, not necessarily.
If you have bigger muscles, you can propel yourself. Further.
If you're a sprinter, usually, or a jumper. I was a hurdler. I didn't really need. I mean, I never have done that, and a lot of hurdlers don't do that. Even sprinters don't do that. Maybe they'll do resistance training, but not like heavy back squats, which is how I just ruined my spine. But
so you got injured.
So I got injured, and what I did was, I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk for like a month.
Damn.
Right? It was painful to walk.
Yeah.
So I had crutches, and I didn't start jogging again until, or I didn't start walking again until like 2 months. And then I could like lightly jog another 2 months, and then I could jog another 2 months. So it's like 6 months, and then pretty much like a year and a half until I could like run again. And I still can't really run full speed.
Really?
Because I feel like something is just gonna snap.
You're like a freak. Yeah.
So like I still made it to nationals my like 3 years after that, but nowhere near the times that I would have ran. I feel like if I didn't get hurt.
What's your fastest mile?
Oh, I don't run the mile.
No,
I don't run the mile.
You run the 8 miles.
But my fastest mile, I could tell you my fastest mile was like when I was in 8th grade.
Yeah,
I ran 4:52.
Jeez.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, I
always wanted to be that kid, and I just was not.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I used to do the decathlon, so I would do that's 5 events in 2 days, and you have to run the 15 at the end of the last day.
Yeah. I don't know his name, but there was just some guy that ran. I forgot what it was, but he ran a 7-minute mile for 12 hours straight.
What?
And it was like
7-minute mile.
What is that?
Why?
It was like 100 mile or something.
Why would
maybe
you do
or
that?
even more.
That's nonsense.
But his average mile was 7 minutes per mile for 12 hours straight, almost 12 hours straight. It was like 11 hours and like 42 minutes or something.
That's insane. I had a
and then you look at him and his legs are just skinny as shit.
Oh yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah, I mean you have to be. You can't carry that much weight when you're running. You have to be buff running.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry.
Where was I?
After
So when I got injured, it was when I was like, oh, what do I want to really do with my life? What am I really passionate about? I was pretending that was business for a while. But when I got hurt, I was like, it's not business because I'm laying in my bed. The last thing I want to do is read a business book right now. And so I started watching TV shows a lot. And one that really like caught me was Entourage.
Great show.
And so I watched that religiously. I started from the beginning. I think it was like 3 or 4 seasons in at the time that I got hurt.
What was it about that show?
Well, it's about an actor's life. You know, it's about what he goes through, the good and the bad and the ugly.
Yeah.
And so I just kept watching that show. Obviously, that turned into like watching other movies because I quickly watched all of the shows.
Yeah.
And I started watching, Good Will Hunting. and I got into like black exploitation films. So now I'm seeing myself represented on screen, and I just fell in love with the feelings that these movies would give me. Mm-hmm. And if I could do that to somebody else in my situation, you know what I mean, bedridden, just annihilated physically.
Then you want to give it all you got to try to achieve that.
To change, because I really do believe that cinema can change people's lives, that these actors do change people's lives. So I was talking to my friend the other night, and she was telling me, you know, she said, I didn't really have a lot of role models growing up because she grew up in like a very rural area.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in South Pass. I grew up in San Marino, Pasadena area in LA. Okay. So I had tons of people.
Yeah.
But she was telling me like I didn't really have any role models, and like who I would look up to was these triumphant characters in these movies. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow, you know, I did have a lot of role models, but I also feel the same way that she did, and that's why I pursue acting, and I'm gonna pursue acting, you know, full force forever.
I always find that
dope,
like
man.
my mom and dad are big role models for me, and I always connect with characters that remind me of them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
like who?
like the mom in The Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Well, that's one of my favorite movies. I've said it like 4 times on the podcast, probably.
You have.
She's
she
she died recently, but I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but she's a British actor, and she's just beautiful, elegant, funny, and just like the relationship that she has with the character in that movie when they first meet, because they switch and they've never met the other parent before. Yeah. And the first time she meets her mom, I cry every time. Every fucking time.
I feel like you're about to cry.
I'm gonna cry right now. I'm just talking about it. Every time I see it, I cry. It's like the best part of that movie, because like I have such a good relationship with my mom, and I can't imagine
yeah.
What movie like stood out to you the most and like affected you the most?
Oh my God.
Or TV show?
Well,
doesn't have to be one. You can
or
just like throw.
Influenced you the most.
Dude, there's so many.
I know there's so much good.
Because when you
art.
say that movies can absolutely influence someone or change their life, there's one that comes to my mind immediately, and it's La La Land.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And you're in music, right?
No, I am a stand-up.
You're a stand-up.
Yes.
So what
but
about?
you also are in music.
I mean, I play guitar. I wouldn't say I'm in music.
Well, okay, we just had a musician on the podcast, and y'all were talking a different language.
Oh,
I had no idea what was going on.
You know, it's just a thing, I guess. But I wouldn't say I'm in music.
No, but you have a passion for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, stand up is what he's pursuing.
Yes.
Currently.
Pursuing is the better word. Yeah.
Yeah.
So La La Land, it was more about like because I had seen it right after a relationship. Mm-hmm. I'm not even really too big on musicals, but just both of their performances in that movie and just the overall artistic expression of that movie is just unlike any movie I've ever seen before.
Yeah.
And I know that there are a lot of movies that movie took from, you know? Mm-hmm. I don't care. I think
that's what art is.
Yeah.
You know?
I saw that movie the night that it came out, actually over here. This was before I even lived in LA.
Yeah.
And I saw it over here, and something about seeing it, a movie that takes place in Hollywood, in LA, seeing it in LA, right after a breakup, and the movie's kind of about a breakup, sort of.
It is, yeah.
Sort of. You know,
It
like
is.
life goes on.
That's the event.
Because, you know, I just broke up with this chick, and I just felt like my world was ending. Mm-hmm. You know, and then I see that movie, and it's the message at the end is kind of just like, hey, life goes on, sort of, right?
Yeah.
And so it just moved me in a way that a movie has never moved me. Like,
Wow.
I cried.
You went that many years without being moved by a film?
Well,
no.
Not by that much.
Not
right?
that much.
'Cause it was so.
Yeah. I've been moved by movies and stuff. Like, I mean, mainly like
it does.
Pixar movies.
I think
but
it might happen after, like we were just talking about, like going through an impactful event in your life, and then like the closeness of that plus something that you connect with, and then you're like, oh shit, this stuff matters.
Yeah.
You know, because this wasn't even in something that I had watched, but so I have herpes, and like that's like my big thing, and I like talk about it and try to be as open as I can about it. And I did it in class, like did things in class related to it, but there was somebody did a scene in the class where the situation that they set up was they went on their honeymoon and they didn't have sex that night, so it was like the day after, and they were gonna have what happens afterwards. And she was like, why didn't we have sex? Like, what the fuck is the deal? And he didn't have herpes. He had another STD that he was like embarrassed by. That was what his reasoning was.
Yeah.
Because we write these ourselves or whatever. And in the middle of it, I got so emotional and I started crying and I ran out of the room.
And you were in the audience watching it?
Well, we were in class. So it was just like this little stage, 2 people, and like 10 of us like sitting, watching, being like, okay.
Wow.
But like I totally connected with not being able to say something, feeling like the repercussions of it are going to be so much worse. And
exactly.
I just like got so overwhelmed. I couldn't even be in the room and I had to go out and like, I was like hyperventilating, and like my teacher was like a little mad at me. Not because I had an emotional outburst, but she was like, that's what this is. This is a space for that. You know, like she was like, you could have interrupted the scene, which would have been, that's why she was mad. But she was like, have those emotions in the class, like feel like you can do that, because we are doing this to connect with people and to tell their stories and you know, all that kind of stuff. So that was something that was like visceral, like a whole, I had like no control over it almost, you know?
Yeah.
It's fucking intense.
And that's why we do this.
Yeah.
This crazy world.
Back to whatever movie it was that influenced you, though.
I mean, if I'm being real, I know this is a really recent film, but Black Panther.
Tell me why.
It hit me so hard. I cried throughout the whole film.
No shit.
That's beautiful.
You know what I mean?
Really?
I cried through the whole film.
I still got to see it.
Yeah, you haven't seen it? You got to watch it, man. It's great. I mean,
it's epic.
But as an African American, and I'm Chinese, Afro-Chinese American growing up here, it spoke to me, like specifically me. And it was directed by a black director. It was pretty much an all-black cast. You know what I mean? And everybody working on the film was African-American or understood like the African influence that was involved in the film and how important that was. Yeah. And you can see it, and I could feel it, you know? I don't want to spoil it for you because you haven't seen it.
Don't, because I am into those movies. We just saw Avengers, and we watched Thor Ragnarok the other day.
That's such a good movie too.
I haven't seen.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
Yeah,
because the first 2 Thors weren't that great.
Yeah, they weren't that great. Yeah.
But I still need to watch like Doctor Strange and Black Panther. Those are the 2 that I need to watch.
Yeah.
My sister felt the same way, and I did, but she saw it before me. Wonder Woman was the same for women.
Yeah, exactly.
In that way of seeing it being so powerful and knowing how much of it was women's influence and that whole first fight scene. Have you seen it?
No.
Okay, did you see it?
Yeah, of course.
So the first like epic battle is just the whole army is women.
Yes.
And they were badass, dude. They were kicking ass. And it was like, it wasn't like they were just like girls who were like
trying to be cute. No.
Trying to be cute. They were like fucking warriors, you know?
They really were.
So yeah, my sister said that I don't know if she cried, but she definitely got teary-eyed at like the power of the woman or whatever. So that's, again, like, people like gloss over the fact that, oh, Black Panther, it's all black, woohoo. It's like, no, it fucking means something to a lot of people.
And also, it made so much money.
Yeah.
It made like
way more than I ever thought it would.
Yeah, exactly. Me too, because they keep telling, the narrative is, they keep saying that all black casts or like black movies in general aren't big box office draws. And now what are they going to say now?
Well, what were they going off of before? Like Tyler Perry?
But see, when you create that narrative, you create a stigma that is attached to these films in people's minds.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to, that there's a spectrum. Is that what we were talking about?
Yeah.
Or like, if you label something one thing, then it stays in that box kind of, Yeah. When really there's a huge...
And there's so much diversity within the black community, so it's like, why are you saying that black, like... You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. How are you just going to say,
it's not, there's no one way to be that race or any race.
Any race.
There's like, literally everybody has their unique experience, whatever it is. It doesn't, the labels, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
So I think we're getting away from that, at least slowly.
Labels.
Yeah. I mean, it is like at least opening up people's ideas of what things are slowly, just because and that's again why movies are so important. Somebody told me the other day that America's biggest export is entertainment. And I was like, oh, like that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
That is
Hollywood.
our influence, what we put out into the world, movies, TV shows, things that people consume as entertainment is basically saying this is what America looks like. And then it's an exact translation. If everybody's white, people think everybody's just white.
Yeah.
But if you start putting different colors and different experiences and different stories, then the rest of the world starts catching up and seeing, exactly what is going on instead of what the white rich people want them to think
and
or
that's
whatever.
What representation really does matter. Chadwick Boseman, who plays Black Panther, was talking about how before Black Panther, executives would always tell him that, oh, we can't put you on the poster because that doesn't sell overseas. What? That's not good internationally. And him being like, I kind of understand that. But then with Black Panther coming out, he's like, okay, that's not true at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Why was that even a thing ever?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it, I don't remember. I can't. All my references are fucked today. But there's somebody talking about how the reason that, like, first of all, it is just about money.
Yeah.
The movie business,
Let's
or at
be
least,
real, at the end of the day,
that's what it's about. And the reason why all these shitty movies, like the shitty action adventure ones that have no real story, or the stories that we've seen 1,000 times, the reason that they keep getting made and like do well in the box office is because overseas, if they don't speak English, the translation is just easier.
Oh yeah, of course.
So if the story is simpler and just like a love between a father and son, everybody can understand what that looks like. So they do it 1,000,000 times. They don't understand the very specific, unique plight of an American doing something that nobody else really would understand.
Yeah.
That was because just verbally or like with the language, it's not going to translate, or they're not even going to have a reference to what any of their day-to-day looks like. But I personally learn primarily through like movies and documentaries and things that I absorb that way. I learn like
me too. I'm the same way.
I'm so obsessed with like Netflix and like watching like certain comedians that aren't white. Just watching their stand up, like it's
Specifically, who are you talking about?
It's D. Ray Davis had one recently, and he was just talking about what it means to be black and how it's like this and that and like his personal experiences, and I was just sitting there like, I didn't know any of this.
Dave Chappelle too.
Yeah, well, Dave Chappelle, I had seen before and kind of just understood what his thing was, but D. Ray Davis, I'd never even heard really any of his opinions or anything, and I just got this whole new wave. He was like making references the whole crowd knew, and I was like, I don't know what that is. I want to know.
Exactly.
I want to be included.
Yeah.
And I don't want to feel like I don't like not knowing things.
Exactly.
But it's valuable to understand.
Yeah.
Oh, your life looked like this.
Yeah.
Mine doesn't look like that at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just interesting more than anything. I think. Just being like, what happened with you? That's why I'm so interested in talking to people because I know what my life looks like. I'm bored.
You never know what anyone's going through.
Yeah.
You never know anyone's experience. Yeah. You never know looking at people nowadays what the ethnicity they even are. Or where they're from, and
you probably deal with that a lot because
I'm black and Chinese, and my family dinner table on Thanksgiving and Christmas looks like the UN. We got like
awesome.
We got Mexican people. Everyone's sitting at the table. Everyone's represented. So it's very comforting to me to be around a diverse group of people because that's been my life my whole life. It's in environments where I'm the only one. I can deal with that. But I would prefer to be around everybody.
Yeah.
And because I have been around everybody, it kind of does. I can't comprehend why people don't want to be around everybody because at the end of the day, we share a lot of characteristics and we have a lot of similarities and we can all be friends. Sounds corny, but like there's you can always be friends with somebody.
Oh yeah.
If you really talk to them and understand them as a human being.
Yeah.
Race is really important though. We can't forget that. But people are different. Yeah. And we got to understand our differences.
I just always try to look at everybody as a human being first. rather than like your skin's black or your skin's white.
Yeah.
You know, like you're just a person.
Yeah, you're a person
like
first.
You just said
now let's figure out the rest of you. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're a piece of shit or a dick, like real quick, right off the bat, then I probably won't want to talk to you.
Yeah, regardless of what you are.
Yeah.
I don't want to be around you.
Yeah,
exactly.
It sounds so simple, but it just, I don't know why. It's just, that
I think it's a
doesn't
problem
translate.
because some people are just very close-minded or maybe prejudiced or have like a preconceived notion. Like maybe they met a Chinese person that was an asshole.
Yeah.
And a piece of shit or something. And they just now every time they see a Chinese person, they're just like, you're probably like that
because
guy.
that was probably the only Chinese person they've ever talked to.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing with gay or anything with
exactly.
like a different, anybody that lives a slightly different lifestyle than you, they're like, that's bad. I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah, or that's going to influence me in a bad way because they believe in all the stereotypes that are associated with that categorization, you know?
So back to acting.
Okay.
What's like the biggest difference between like stage acting and being behind a camera?
I would say people. This is always the thing that I hear is like, being in front of a camera, you can dial it down a lot. And on stage,
Subtleties.
And on stage, you would be big. But to me, it's like, do justice to whatever the story is telling you to do. You know, have the medium in mind. Obviously, don't be shouting into the mic because you'll explode the sound guy's eardrum. But whatever's inside of you, I'm just frustrated because, for me, I feel like being. It's more of a man. It's so hard to describe. Because they are different, but even in like movies and TV, there are moments where you're supposed to be just as big as stage.
Yeah,
you know. And to think that I can't be that big right now because it's film and it's TV is a bad thing.
Yeah,
because then you end up being like when you're mad, you're like, I'm so mad. At you
then you
right
keep
now.
all of your
I
emotions
hate
on the
you
inside.
so much, you know.
Yeah.
As opposed to like being actually mad.
I was just, this popped into my head. It's kind of, think about the frame in which people are looking at the scene. So on a stage, they're seeing the entire frame. They're seeing you, they're seeing the person you're acting with, they're seeing everything in the foreground, background, walls, everything that is on the stage. So you have the room to fill it.
Yeah.
That's what you can do on stage. And so it's not necessarily about being bigger, but physically, the frame is bigger.
Yeah.
Whereas in film, the frame is smaller and there are different angles and stuff where you just have to be aware of what the camera can see. Because if you're acting and you're mad, and you go like this.
Yeah. You throw your arms up.
And you completely go out of frame.
Yeah, out of focus.
Your arms, then your acting is bullshit.
Exactly.
Like, because I can't see what it is. Even if you're acting your mightiest.
Yeah.
You know, it can't translate. So you have to, that's the only thing I really think that you need to keep in mind is, am I in view of whoever's watching this? Can they see what I'm doing?
I think the director is there too to sort of. I think it's good to be big and then have the director be like, okay, man, here's the frame. You know, you have that.
Yeah.
But to not do that, you might go way too small. You might not share enough.
Start big and you can always dial it down.
Yeah, you can always dial it down.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I've always heard.
It's dangerous because then you get comfortable being really small. And then now you're not showing anything. You think you're showing things because you think, I'm being a film actor. You know, but like you have to still bring it all out. You know, you watch these performances like Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood. That's basically like a stage performance. He's crazy and he's yelling and he's screaming and he's big, you know? So, yes, there's a difference. I think it's sharing and being heard. You don't necessarily have to worry about that on film. But I try not to think too much about that and just do the job I need to do. And all these other technical factors and people will help me in when it comes to TV
to really
and film,
hone it in.
To hone it in and be like, okay, well, this is the frame. Make sure you don't do that, but still bring that same energy.
The only time you really have to edit it yourself is when you do auditions.
Oh, yeah.
Because the director's not going to let you know if you're in or out of the frame. They're going to let you fucking fall on your face and go, okay, thank you, bye. You know, I took an audition class for a while, and that was the hardest part of, like, learning stillness.
Oh, yeah. There's
staying in the frame.
Like this and, you know, turning your body to the side, changing, you know, subtle things about maybe
making
looking down.
all the fucking choices of, like, coming into frame and how to leave and blah, blah, blah,
so
blah,
being
blah.
at Chalk and then going into that type of work, was it like was there a huge learning curve, or was it just kind of natural for you?
The way that I saw it was, you know, in any sport that you do, you have a coach.
Okay.
And you listen to your coach.
Yeah.
You be coachable, and you trust that
I think being
person.
an athlete totally helps.
Yeah.
Because being coachable is, like, huge.
Probably helps with anything because you have a lot of discipline and you know how to like, take orders.
Yeah.
Well, take constructive criticism. If you have a hothead on the team who won't listen to anything the coach has to say, nobody wants that fucking player.
No.
Same thing with actors or anything else where you have to collaborate.
It's a team sport. It really is.
Yeah. Making anything, unless you're doing it all yourself, is definitely a team sport. It's interesting to think about it.
Yeah, I think it's done nothing but help me, honestly, because it's a collaborative thing. Even in track, like it's a solo. You're doing it solo event. You do have relays, but those aren't the main things. I did the hurdles, the 110 hurdles and the 400 hurdles, but it was always a team. You know, you have the hurdle squad or you have the track team, and it's a thing. And you all hang out together. You train together. You lift together. You eat together. You hang out, and so to me, track is is just as much a team sport as like basketball or football.
Oh, okay.
And when I went to USC, there was 8 of us in an ensemble. So my ensemble was my team, you know, and we do all our plays together. We'd all be in all our plays, all our classes every day together, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So you have to be able to work through the difficulties and the relationships that you have on your team. And honestly, we didn't all get along at all times, but I walk away from that experience having learned a lot about about human behavior, because we shared everything about our lives with each other, and we respect each other. Whether or not we like each other or we're friends per se doesn't necessarily matter when it comes to the overall picture of what did we walk away with from that program and what did we learn. And we learned a lot about each other and about life in general. And it made us better human beings, not just better actors.
What was it like going to USC?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I loved it. My teachers my professors were just... I get emotional talking about them because they really did. I really feel like they changed my life.
Really?
Because they made me embrace exactly who I was and am, and I'm constantly adapting, and that's fine. You know, you show up to class angry, and our teacher, Andy Robinson, would be like, okay, you're angry? That's fine. You don't have to change that. Use that. You know what I mean? So anytime I'm feeling a certain way, I'm like, this is okay. I accept that I feel this way. And it doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't make me an asshole. I just feel this way right now. Could that change like in a second?
You're allowed to feel.
Yeah.
That's how I went into work the other day. I was kind of feeling down just because I dealt with something, and I walked in and people are like, how are you? I'm like, I'm just down today.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, it's fine. Like, I'm just going to have to, you know, kind of wade this one out and see, you know. My mood will change. I know it will. I'm just, right now, I'm just kind of low.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Because acting is being in the moment, and characters are just like people. They better be.
Yeah.
Or else it doesn't read.
Shit.
And they live in the moment too.
Yeah.
You know, and they have feelings too. So what drama school did was help me bridge the gap by realizing there's no gap really. That you're always living, and if you're always living, understand the circumstances, and there's technical things that you need to know going into like a production or something like that. But it's always you, and character is always you. My professor Natsuko always used to say that character is a small part of you, because you're so many things as a human being. You're multifaceted. You're comprised of all these components of different experiences in your life, and then you only have to do a play for like 2 hours. So within that gamut of and feelings and emotions and experiences, of course, there's things that can relate to the actions that this character is taking in this production or this play or this movie. You know what I mean? And each of those moments you can sort of craft, and it's always you. And that's how I see it. You know, other people might have different methods to getting there, but to me, that's the most organic, and it just feels right, and it feels like I'm doing justice to whatever story I'm telling when I do it that way.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
It is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask do you have any bad experiences working on projects or with people? Like anything funny that pops out?
Oh man,
is there a lot, or is there something you don't want to talk
Their
about?
eyes just glossed over. You're like, oh shit.
there's a lot, but you
don't like to talk about it.
they're personal, not to me because I don't care how I come across, but to the people that I experienced it with. You know what I mean?
You don't want to shit on anybody.
Yeah, and they're gonna know who they are. But, there's been plenty of arguments. One thing for me was because I was such a novice that I would be a lot more sensitive to the things that other people would tell me and think that they're right because I have no experience. But after my first year, it was like, no, that doesn't feel right. You're actually being like, you're commandeering my performance, and I don't appreciate that. And standing up for myself and being like, nah, because when I get up there, it's just me. You're not there. I'm on stage. You know what I mean? So you can tell me to do all these things. You can tell me that I'm lazy or I don't do the work that I need to do or whatever you think is coming across. But to me, I'm going to do what I need to do to get to that place. And of course, it was taking me longer because it was my first year,
Yeah.
Because we have guest directors that come from outside the program that don't know us. And that's a good thing, actually, because it prepared me for what the real world is going to be later. Like, you have to get your shit together.
Yeah.
And do it and not necessarily fast, but at the pace that is required of you, the industry standard. Right? So the bad experiences that I had, I think they were good to have.
Yeah,
because
of course.
They taught you something.
they made me understand, like, hey, this is what you got to do. You can't come in and say, I'm a novice, so I don't really know how this works. You got to figure it out. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that applies to any situation that you're in, because every situation and this is our industry, every situation that you go into is going to be different. Different cast, different director, different material, different character, different voice, you know what I mean? It's never going to be the same. So you're always going to have to adapt.
Yeah. So you really have to figure out your process. That's kind of at least when you're starting out, you have to figure out what your process is before, because then whatever gets thrown your way, the different material, the different director, the different people that you have to work with, you can always come back to, okay, this is how I work, and I'm going to do what I know how to do.
Yeah.
And then bring that to the table, and then we can go from there. But if you don't have your own process, you are going to just be hit.
And you're relying on other people, you can't.
You can't. Yeah.
No.
It's not going to be any good.
Are you talking about getting into a character?
No, just like but also just the
To a certain extent, yeah.
You have to be
Showing
able to
up.
center yourself and know what you came there to do, so that when you get crossed with, I think you should do it like this, you either say that's a good idea, or you go, I don't think so. And you have to be able
to have an opinion.
Yeah, you have to have an opinion, or else you will be just doing what everybody's telling you to do, and that never works.
Doesn't.
Yeah. But I meant more like, have you done any like student films or low budget or like anything besides like the higher up for the people that's going to be on television stuff?
Yeah, I have. And that's another thing too, because you have to also navigate the fact that like everything might not come together the way it should.
Yeah.
Like even if you work the hardest and you bring it,
because there's
else.
so many other components.
Yeah, it is.
And everyone's, I'm forgiving because students, like, they're learning just like I was. A lot of them come into school not having had any experience. But it's still like a frustrating process to be but there's this thing like I feel like you should know about because I'm an actor and you should know that about this lens or this frame and you should have a shot list and stuff like that. So if I'm gonna do a student film, it has to be like I feel like at this point in my career, like it has to be like everyone has to be on board and know what they're doing. You know, and that's just you looking out for yourself. That's just me looking out for myself, honestly, because I don't want to waste my time necessarily and put my heart and soul into something that's like not everyone is prepared to do.
Yeah. It's like finding people that are on your same skill level or like I mean, we always, for whatever reason, talk about sex in this, but like finding a tennis partner who is your same level is similar. Like if you're a beginner and the other person is fucking Serena Williams wailing it at you, it's not a good, fun game.
It's not going to make her better.
It's not going to make her better. It's not going to make you better.
Yeah.
You know, you're still trying to figure out how to hold the racket or whatever the hell. So, you know, the people that are just starting out in student films need to find other actors that are also starting out so that you can learn together.
When it comes to making movies or being on set or being in that environment, do you feel like it's only going to be as good as the weakest member of that team?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
But if that weakest member is like not that integral to the whole part, then maybe not.
Yeah.
But if that weakest link is like the director, then yes.
Oh, okay.
Or if it's like one of the lead actors, then absolutely.
Or the editor.
If the makeup
editor or the sound.
If the makeup person isn't that great, it's not going to affect everything else that much if everyone else is good?
Yeah, if most of the important people, not important, but most of the, you know, I don't want to say
people that make it come together.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The most integral people.
Yeah.
Well, like all the pieces that you absolutely have to have. If any of those are like faulty, like you don't have to have a makeup person. I can do my own makeup.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, they do serve a purpose. Yeah, you know, and they do great work.
It's actually more. It's important.
Yeah, but it's like I can make a short film with one other person.
We're talking about short films, yeah.
We don't have a makeup person. It's not going to ruin the film.
It's not going to ruin the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the most important part is just showing what these characters are going through. In the best possible way.
Yeah.
But sound is super important. Lighting is super important. The actual material, the story,
having
is
the
very
fucking camera in focus.
Yeah, exactly. Because no one's gonna want to watch it.
Yeah,
you know, you could have the most gripping story ever, but if the sound sucks, no one's gonna want to watch that. Yeah. If the picture is like messed up, out of focus, if the lighting is really bad, no one's gonna want to watch it. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's an industry standard that you have to meet in order to garner any kind of esteem or attention.
Yeah. Back to you being in USC, I'm kind of curious. Were you a frat guy?
I did undergrad at Berkeley.
Oh, okay.
I was a frat guy, but not in the sense that you probably think about frats. No. I was not like...
Were you in a brotherhood?
Yeah, pretty much. It was Kappa Alpha Psi. It's a Black Greek fraternity.
Oh, okay.
And we serve the community, and that is like... We don't really throw parties, but like once like a year. You know, for fundraising purposes.
The whole purpose of the community or the group is for a higher purpose.
Exactly.
More than just, let's get fucked up.
Exactly. And everyone in my dad was a member, my brother is a member, my godbrother, my cousins. So.
How many siblings do you have?
I have 2 brothers.
Older or younger?
Both older. I'm the youngest.
Oh, cool.
I have an oldest brother who is half white, half Norwegian. From my father's previous marriage.
Oh, okay.
He just realized he was Norwegian.
Really?
Yeah, because he's adopted.
Oh, okay.
And my older brother's same mix as me, Chinese and Black.
Okay.
Yeah.
You weren't kidding when you said diverse.
Oh yeah,
family.
we're super diverse. And my brother,
that's cool.
My oldest brother, is with Lily. She's Filipino. And they have a kid together. My niece, Riley. And my middle brother just got married to Kendra, and she is, what is she? She's a 4th Austrian, a 4th Portuguese, and half Black.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost a standard for you guys over there.
You have to
in
be
that
mixed.
family. You got to be like,
you can't be one.
Else.
You can't just be one thing. No.
Yeah.
Well, it's also probably you just connect more with other people that are similar like that.
Yeah. And my cousin, I have my cousins, 2 of them are full Chinese, and then one of them is half Japanese, half Chinese. She just got married to a Caucasian guy.
Caucasian, I like that word.
Yeah, and they live in New York. And then my middle cousin, she just got engaged, and she is living in Sacramento.
Cool.
Yeah.
Caucasian guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one of those.
It'd be so mixed. Like, all right, I'm so happy about it.
Yeah, that's great. I thought my family was diverse.
Yeah.
We have like whites and Mexicans and El Salvadorians.
That's cool.
I thought that was
I'm just
diverse.
white and Italian, but they don't even really mix except for my mom and dad, because my dad is Italian, but the rest of his family is Italian, and then my mom is just white with the like Germans and Sweden, kind of whatever, and we're all like not because. And again, I don't think it has anything to do with who you go out and be like, I need a white person, but it's like just who you relate to. Like both of my cousins are gonna get married. They have bachelorette parties coming up, and they both have white fiancés. Like that's just who they met and who they connected to, and it's not really that they did that on purpose.
Yeah.
If they had met any other person of any nationality, like we would have accepted them as family.
Yeah.
It's just that's just how it happened.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, it's who you are exposed to. I mean, that has a lot of implications that go back in time. You know what I mean? But because I grew up and I was the only black kid growing up in my neighborhood
in Pasadena,
in San Marino.
Oh, okay.
But I'm Chinese, so there's a lot of Chinese people.
Did you connect with Chinese people?
Yeah, so this is the thing. Like, I look black, or I look like not Chinese.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought you were Chinese.
Exactly, and I would nenever. And I'm an actor, and I'll probably never play. Well, never say never, but look at me. I'm never gonna play an Asian guy in a movie. You know what I mean? But I was raised by my Chinese side of the family. So if we're being like real here, I am culturally raised Chinese.
That's
really
kind of awesome.
We're in America. And I am black, and I inherit the whatever that means in this country, So that has shaped my growing up here. That has shaped who my culture is.
You didn't suffer like identity issues growing up?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, you did?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yes, absolutely. Because you have like these Chinese kids telling me like, you're black, this is how you're supposed to act, and white kids saying that too. And it's like, well, how do my dad's here, do I act like that? And then I watch BET and it's like, oh, okay, that's how I'm supposed to act. I'm supposed to play basketball, right? Not skateboard, and play football. That's what I'm supposed to do, right? Does anyone answer my question? Like, what am I supposed to do? But luckily I have my dad there, and he served as that grounding force to be like, regardless of what happens, I'm going to be fine. What I've learned is that, like, I'm not like anything else. I'm half black and half Chinese. How can I pigeonhole myself into any kind of identity when I am this? And it's just because it's rare and there's nobody that I can really look to and be like a black Chinese actor or black and Chinese role model. I gotta be that.
You gotta be that role model.
And I gotta not necessarily stand alone. I don't feel like I stand alone because, like I said before, I see the world as just mixed. So to me, I'm just like, I can be in any situation and feel good because I know all these other situations because I was exposed to everything when I was a kid.
Did that influence like why you wanted to get into like being an actor? Because you just wanted to be seen and like.
I never thought about that, but absolutely yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now.
Because
you want to be like that voice of those people. Like, hey, you can be.
Yeah.
You can be black and Chinese and still just be this person. Just be like an American.
It is so much. Yeah. It's just like being yourself. That's how I kind of think of if you were to stand alone. It's not like everybody kind of has to stand alone because.
Yeah.
You are your unique self, and it doesn't have to do with what you look like or who you think you should act like or whatever. It's like, well, this is who I am, so I'm just going to do that.
Yeah, this is who I am. And, if I like to watch anime with Japanese audio,
Do you?
Yeah,
Can
but
you
with
speak
subtitles.
Chinese or? Oh, okay.
I don't speak Japanese, but I'd prefer that than to like having these dubbed over American voices on this
those are
Japanese
probably the
show.
worst, right?
Yeah, it just seems wrong.
Do you speak another language?
I speak Chinese,
You
but
can speak
like
Chinese.
I'm
no
like
shit.
37% fluent. But yeah,
Can you understand it better than speaking?
I understand because my grandma does not speak English like pretty much at all. So
That's crazy because I had a grandma that spoke Spanish, and that's way more dominant down here.
yeah, and you
right?
can in the in the written language in the auditory is like very close relationship to English.
compared to
Chinese is
right?
nothing is the same. Nothing is the same.
No,
There's no equivalencies and
No, not at
You
all.
couldn't even figure it out if you really looked at it.
no, not at all. You have to really study it.
That's super
study
fascinating,
it
man.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever like try to study it? And
I lived in Shanghai for 5 months. Yeah, and
For what?
I did a study abroad program there.
Nice.
And before that, I studied Chinese for a year. And back then, this was like 2012. I was pretty much fluent.
no shit.
But when I came back, like I didn't really.
you lost,
I wasn't forced to speak it as much.
Yeah. You would have had to like call up your grandma and have a conversation
Like
every day.
every
to keep
day,
It.
yeah, and like talk to my mom every day. But I don't really have a lot of Chinese friends that speak fluently, and that will want to do that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
That would also be hilarious walking down the street and
Yes.
see you and like some white guy that speaks Chinese going back.
People's
Be like,
minds.
What the fuck?
People's minds would explode in China when I would speak Chinese.
Really?
Oh, wow.
I'd be because all the people in my program were Chinese Americans from the UC system because I was at Berkeley and my my
Yeah.
roommates and my classmates in that program were from like UC San Diego, Santa Barbara, Santa Cruz, and I'd speak Chinese and at a vendor or whatever, and the vendor would like look at me like what, and then look at my Chinese friend and
Like,
speak
who
to my
are you?
Chinese friend in Chinese like what is
Like,
no,
are
I'm
you
speaking.
James Bond?
I just spoke Chinese to you. Like,
Yeah.
I
that's
know
what
you
spoke.
understood that.
and then to talk to my Chinese friend, and I understand that too. It's like, hey, I know, but
How do
mainland
you
China,
handle that? That's got to be
it's-
frustrating.
It was I understand the
You
history of
understand,
it
yeah,
though,
yeah.
because mainland China wasn't open to It wasn't open to the rest of the world until the 1980s. You know,
Really?
so they're sort of behind in
I didn't
terms
know
of
that.
like and they have very strict visa laws. So there's not a lot of diversity there. You know what I mean? I mean,
Which is why they gawk at tall white people,
Yeah.
right? Or is that in Japan?
no, that's in China.
Okay.
Maybe in Japan too, but like they gawk at me too.
Yeah.
People would just stare at me in the streets, like
openly.
but like
What are
walking
you
by,
doing
like
here?
looking at me the whole way while I'm walking by, and I just look at them like, hey, yep.
Well, because it's they're not only are they cut off from people immediately in their personal every day to day, but entertainment wise, like
Yeah,
this,
it's censored. It's
yeah,
censored
the stuff they
and-
get from the outside world
exactly.
is totally
It's controlled. But they know who Kobe is.
Of course.
They know who Shaq is and who
course.
Jordan is.
Well, that's nice.
They know a lot of.
So they think you might be
cultural
one of them,
people.
or
Might be in the NBA. They don't know.
Yeah?
I can tell
You
them
look
that.
like
They
you
believe
could
me,
be.
and I
How-
did.
How tall are you?
you did.
Once in a while, 6'3".
6'3"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's
hilarious.
a whole conversation. Or living in China. But also, it's so deep because I don't know if you know the history of mainland China.
Not
Not
at
really.
all.
So there was before World War II, there was a civil war, and then World War II happened. They united, right? The Nationalist and the Communist Party in China united to fight in World War II. Then shortly after, they fought again, and the Communists won, kicked all the Nationalists out. Nationalists allied with Western culture, like America. Communists allied with Russia, right? So they get kicked out. The Nationalist Party gets kicked out of mainland China.
Okay.
Mainland China. They go to Taiwan, right? So Taiwan is that's my family. The Nationalist Party, my grandpa was a general in it. That's my family, right? That's the real China, in quotations. That's the
Okay.
real China. To them, that's the real China.
Okay. Taiwan?
Taiwan,
Okay.
and that's my China, right? Mm-hmm. But mainland China is, that's the real China if we're being like global about it.
Okay.
But that's my family's from Taiwan, right? So my real mainland, my real homeland is China, But where my parents were raised, or where my mom was raised, in that Chinese side of the family, is Taiwan.
Have you been to Taiwan?
I've been to Taiwan, yeah.
You were born here, right?
I was born here, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's it like over there?
Taiwan's very different. It's
like from the rest of China or
different.
from here? Because obviously it's different from here.
Well, it's different from here, but from mainland China, absolutely different.
Oh, okay.
When I was living in mainland China for like 2.5 months, it's I don't want to like shit on mainland China, but culturally it's just so different. And you go, and when we went to, me and my friends, we went to Hong Kong. We're like, oh, people wait in lines here. They don't like crowd around the bus, and you know what I mean.
They are pushy like that.
They're very pushy, and personal space is not a thing to them. And I'm not saying this like, oh, American culture and the way that we live our lives is more civilized. It's just I was not ready for that.
Yeah.
I was not ready for that. And then when we got to Hong Kong, it was like a breath of fresh air because it's more like home.
Yeah.
Because all the Western influences are more like home. Taiwan, more like my home that I was born in. You know what I mean? And it stems back to the fact that, like, nationalists allied with America and Western civilization, communist China allied with Russia, and you know what I mean? So
I had no idea about any of that. So thanks for
But if you ever go to mainland China, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and you'll know it very quickly.
Really?
Yes, you know it very quickly.
Yeah.
They're rowdy. They're like, and I loved having had that experience.
Yeah. I would love to go somewhere like that. That's just such a culture shock.
It's a huge culture shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people were like, was it a culture shock being in LA? I'm like, from DC? No, it's the same fucking...
I wouldn't consider it culture shock. It's more of like, oh, there's more like open-minded free people here.
No, not even that. I mean, barely from DC. Okay. They're both cities in America.
Yeah.
They're kind of the same.
Yeah.
What about? I mean, all major cities are kind of like that. I feel like if you go to like the South, major cities are more or less like major cities anywhere in America. But when you start going to like the rural areas,
that's where they differ for sure.
Yes, when that's
not
where
safe
the
personalities
for me and people like me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Have you traveled to any places like that?
I think I've been to like 42 states. I think I'm missing maybe like 46. I think I'm missing.
For what? Like just because?
I just go on road trips with my family and like.
That's dope.
Wow.
I used to when I ran track every year I'd go to the Junior Olympics and it was in a different state. So I'd find myself in Omaha, Nebraska. I'd be like,
did you ever have any experiences like that, like where you felt like really oppressed or like you just weren't wanted somewhere, like you walk into a restaurant or something? Well, in the South specifically?
Oh, in the South. Oh.
Yeah. No, because I work with a guy. He's African-American. He's older. I think he's in his 50s. And I forgot where he said that he was, but he said that there was a tree where it was in a very rural area somewhere.
Yeah.
And there was a tree where there was still a rope hanging from where they used to like hang African-American.
Yeah.
And it's like a part of their culture there, and they don't want to take it down.
No, of course
but
not.
he was there, and he was just like...
Yeah, it's like
looking at it like, holy shit, man.
They're proud of that culture, and it doesn't make sense. Like, what if there's something to be proud of? Why are you proud of that? Murdering people.
Yeah.
That I don't understand, and I never will. When you are
proud of oppressing.
Yeah, proud of oppressing, but like just unwilling to let go of something that is oppressive and that caused pain, and it was literal murder.
Yeah.
How are you?
In the worst way, too. You know?
Yeah.
Like
public
lynching.
Execution.
Public execution. How are you? Why? How is that even a conversation?
He was saying that this was like 2 or 3 years ago that he did that. He went over there and experienced that. And I was like, wait a minute, that's still going on?
Oh, no, it's
until
still...
he told me this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's probably, unfortunately, always going to be some kind of racism in America. But at the same time, I didn't know stuff like that was still going on.
Oh, man, there's...
You know?
It's bad.
Like, what?
I mean, when I would go to the South with my dad, because my dad's from the South. He's from Jacksonville, Florida. When we take road trips, he's like, you stay next to me. You and Reynolds, my brother, you stay right next to me. You don't wander off. This is not a place where you can just wander off. You stay next to me.
Don't go partying at any dive bars tonight.
Well, no, I was like 5 or 6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When you were young.
And I'm like, why? What do you mean? Why?
Yeah.
I don't understand. But now I understand.
Jeez.
And there is this consciousness as a black person that you have to have when you're in the South. You have to be aware of your surroundings. You cannot afford not to be.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that people don't understand. Not everyone understands.
I feel like
definitely don't.
it's similar, not to the same degree, because I don't know if women were ever hung for anything, but the vigilance that you have in certain areas versus other areas where you feel safe, I think it's similar, because me being a tall, good-looking, blonde, white woman walking in an area or showing off certain body parts, even like I am on high alert.
Oh, you have to be.
Constantly. I walk through a restaurant and I'm like, okay, there's eyes, there's eyes, there's eyes, there's eyes, there's eyes. Okay, don't look at them when I walk back.
Yeah.
You take inventory of a place as soon as you walk in, because you
feel it. It's an energy.
You can feel it. Yeah. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's not.
It was like the other night when we were walking back from dinner with Tierney, and like that guy was walking towards us, and I got a bad feeling from him. Oh yeah,
dude, me too.
I got a bad feeling from him, so I was kind of.
What did he do?
Okay.
Did he do something?
So we were walking right here
towards us
on Franklin Avenue right here, and we were walking to come back here. We were walking this way. And he was walking this way. He was walking towards us. And I just got a bad feeling from him.
He was like 5 feet away. And he had like,
I mean, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but like, yeah, he was probably on drugs. He just looked like he was like freaking out a little bit. Maybe he was schizophrenic. I don't know. But he was smoking a cigarette and like he had a bunch of stuff in his pockets and stuff. But
he had a backpack on, I think.
Yeah. And he was walking right next to us. He took off into a full sprint the opposite direction. So her and I like stopped and we're like, what the fuck? And he goes into a full sprint and basically was like a bowling ball into these 3 dudes walking in his direction, you know? And he just came up behind him, pushed one of them down, and then like they like almost got in a fight. Like he was just like, come on, motherfucker, blah, blah, blah. Like you can tell he was just trying to start a brawl. So we were like, are we about to go help? Or are we going to get shot? What's going on?
I'm out.
Basically, if anything started really happening, I would have went over there and like helped them out or like called the cops or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wasn't just gonna be like, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, you're just like, what the fuck was going through that guy's fucking head?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
The energy of people is palpable.
Yeah, exactly.
But I knew, like right when I saw him, I knew that there was something ticking in his mind, like the energy. And I just knew that something was off.
Yeah.
You can like read people's minds if you look at their eyes.
Sorta.
I looked at his face and I was like, oh, that motherfucker's up to something. Like if he didn't say anything.
No.
He didn't do anything. He just had a look on his face, you know?
Like he was about to do something.
It's like, have you ever seen those, I think it's a set of YouTube videos where they're like, this is the look on somebody's face before they like shoot a place up.
Yeah.
Like they have a gun and they have this determined look of,
because they've decided that they're gonna do this heinous act.
It reminded me of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope I never have that experience.
I feel like this is a pretty nice neighborhood and that happened. So after that, that can kind of just happen anywhere probably, especially here in Hollywood.
Hollywood is a crazy place.
Oh yeah.
Hollywood do you live? Wait, where do you live again?
I live in the burbs. I live in Pasadena. I live in South Pasadena. Right. Yeah.
How is it over there? It's good?
It's a quaint little town, and there's a lot of families. It's very safe.
That's good.
Yes, away from the riffraff.
Are you still taking class and stuff? What are you doing like day to day?
My class is sort of getting together with my other acting friends and working on monologues or like filming them.
Oh, nice.
Understanding how to work the camera and stuff like that, and just filming monologues or filming scenes. Because I took 3 years. It's been a year since I graduated, but I did take 3 years of drama school. Mm-hmm. So I'm just letting all that sink in before I really start branching out and like finding like another cohort to be a part of, and another learning system when it comes to and perspective when it comes to acting. Mm-hmm. And maybe I never will. Maybe the tribe that I have from all my acting experiences, USC. And the Guthrie in Minnesota, when I did a program out there, I have like a lot of people, well-trained actors who I communicate with and like, you know,
connect
train
with.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you found that community, because that's what I felt like I didn't find at acting class. I connected fine with people. Like, I'm very good at making friends.
Yeah.
But nobody wanted to make stuff the way that I wanted to.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Because when I was in New York, before I even decided to audition for MFA programs, and even when I was in LA before I even went to New York, it was like, does anyone not want this as bad as I do, but does anyone like feel like they're called to do this, and this is the only thing they want to do? It's not like some like
hobby
flippity floppity thing they want to try to do. You know what I mean? And that's why I applied to MFAs, because
what is MFAs?
MFA is a Master in Fine Arts, so it's a grad degree.
Okay.
And I applied to Juilliard and Yale and NYU, USC, all the top programs. And because I felt like I needed to have a scholastic, I hate that word, but like when I say scholastic, I mean like an elevated education where you're always doing that one thing and everyone is taking it very seriously, because I felt like I needed that.
Yeah, maybe that was the problem. The class maybe was a little too, like, they weren't strict enough with who they let in, which I think is great that you let more people into the experience. But then the people who are taking it very seriously, it dilutes it, because your partner doesn't rehearse. And you're like, I can't do this fucking scene by myself. I need you here with me.
Yeah,
and they just don't care. They're just throwing $400 down the drain. And it's like, you're an absolute idiot. I wish I wasn't partnered with you, but now I have to deal with this ass who, oh God, that was just like so frustrating that I had class with so many people who were just like 1 foot in.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's about finding those people that are all in. You know what I mean? And completely dedicated to doing it, and will go out of their way to be dedicated to do it.
And it's not even like, I don't feel like I'm going out of my way necessarily to do this or to be in a film. I want to. It's not a burden at all. You know, this is the kind of shit I'm seeking out.
I want to do it.
I'm like, please, somebody come to me and ask me to do something minute on their film. Yes, I will do whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, I'm asking for tasks that they're like, well, I can't pay you. I'm like, I don't care. Give me the work. You know, you're like so thirsty for the creative process and to collaborate on something. Yeah. So that's...
And I feel the exact same way. I don't want to be around people who are like kind of wishy-washy about it.
Yeah.
You know?
One last question and then we'll wrap this up. What is like your ultimate goal? I know it's a very like job question, you know. But
well,
like,
just like if you could craft the perfect life.
Okay. Well,
what would you be doing?
I'll start this by saying there's intrinsic and extrinsic value in I think any art, right? So intrinsic would be, and this is not an original idea. I've heard this from Jordan
Peterson.
What is it? JGL, the actor.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yes, he said this, and I totally agree with it. When it comes to intrinsic and extrinsic value, I want to be able to live my life intrinsically and be happy from that, and not dependent on what other people think of me and external success, which is the extrinsic part of this. I want to be comfortable and be not necessarily well off. That'd be great. But I want to be happy doing what I love. And I'm not going to say those two words again because I keep tripping up on them. But intrinsic and
extrinsic. I want to derive intrinsic value from everything that I do. Also, obviously related to acting, and to do the roles that I am passionate about. And sustain a career in doing that. And that doesn't just mean acting, it's also producing and directing and creating. And to be constantly surrounded by people that are like that and in that tribe, and influence me to create even more and to be even happier and to be even more fulfilled in doing what that is. To not care so much about how obviously I want to change the world and I want to help people. In that way, extrinsically, that's a good thing. But when it comes to the basis and the origination of the creation, I want it to come from my soul, and to be coming from helping other people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's the long answer to your question.
That's a good answer.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful answer, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I can't
I would
find
hope
a
that
flaw.
everybody kind of wants that same thing, but I think some people are just kind of in it, or at least in that business of acting. I'm not in that, so I don't know. I can't relate to all that stuff that you're doing, but
I think it's
I
the
feel
same.
like a lot
though.
of people are,
like the core of what, it doesn't matter if it's acting or comedy or whatever. It's like you want to be happy doing what you love.
And to me that's all there is being happy myself and giving that to other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful way to end it. I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Have a Seat podcast, Ryan-Alexander. Did you want to plug like your Instagram or where people can find you? For the People is coming out tomorrow night?
For the People is coming out tomorrow night at 10 p.m.
This isn't going to get posted for another month or so.
You're hearing this in the future.
In delayed fashion.
After it's already happened.
Yeah.
But hey, you can watch the rerun. But my Instagram is RyanAlexH. So go look on that. You don't have to follow me if you don't want to.
Yeah, you could also just
do a YouTube channel or anything?
Do some research.
Nah.
No, you don't dabble in all that
I'm
stuff.
a plug right now.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, this is the Have a Seat podcast with
Anthony Pacheco and
Betsy Hayes. Thank you for tuning in. You can find us on iTunes and YouTube and all those other good places. Follow us on Instagram at the Have a Seat podcast. We will see you later.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.